We are going to replace most doctors with AI. That's the future, right? And the clinical practice of medicine is going to be AI, right? I mean, doctors, I think we pretend, because we want doctors' cooperation right now, because we have lots of doctors, so we have to tell them we're not really going to replace you with, AI. We are going to replace most doctors with AI.
I posted this clip from biotech investor Robert Nelsen to Status Report's new Instagram page last month, and the comment section has been popping off ever since. There were a handful of replies agreeing that AI is coming for doctors' jobs, but I'd say the average comment was something like, biggest load of crazy nonsense ever. And that's not all Nelsen had to say.
And AI is already better than almost all of my doctors.
Well, that's a pretty provocative statement. So I want to know, exactly what kind of tasks do AI developers hope to take over from human doctors? In this week's Status Report, we'll take a look at an AI company that is planning to have its chatbot autonomously perform a job usually done by physicians. Like most things these days, it seems, AI is a pretty polarizing topic. Some folks believe it's gonna usher in a utopian era for humankind.
And I think one day, maybe we can cure all disease with the help of AI.
And they use AI in nearly every aspect of their lives. Other folks are viscerally disgusted by what they deem AI slop and wouldn't trust a chatbot with the task of spelling strawberry.
How many times does the letter R appear in strawberry? If you ask ChatGPT, Claude, or other AI chatbots, the answer is twice.
And AI is increasingly being used somewhere people also have pretty strong feelings about, the US healthcare system. My Stat colleague Mario Aguilar recently wrote a great piece about AI health startup Doctronic.
Doctronic. I don't really want to get health advice from a company that sounds like a band from the early 90s.
Earlier, I spoke with Mario about how Doctronic's AI doctor works, the pre-approved rule breaking that is making it possible to use with real patients, why it is alarming to many medical experts, and more. But first, Status Report is a weekly video series from Stat. Each episode takes viewers inside the biggest stories in health and science, breaking down complex topics, doing dispatches from the most important events in life sciences, and talking with Stat reporters and the experts shaping the future of medicine. So please like and subscribe if that all sounds interesting to you. It's a little click, but it helps us out a lot. And Status Report is now on Instagram. If you'd like to jump into the raucous comments section I mentioned earlier, you can follow @StatusReportIG. Mario, thanks for coming on Status Report.
Hi, Alex.
So for starters, how does Doctronic's chatbot work?
So it's worth knowing from the beginning that even outside the state of Utah, there is a broader Doctronic service. There is a telehealth service that they have right now. You basically go and you start chatting with this bot, and it asks you a whole bunch of questions about your symptoms or how you're feeling. And then once you get to the end of that, it'll either just give you a download of what you have, but it will also offer to connect you to a clinician for $30-something who can write your prescription or offer you treatment advice. And in that case, they're handing off the diagnosis and treatment responsibilities to a human. The difference is that in the state of Utah, they've received regulatory waivers that allow them to hand over some of these practice of medicine type actions to an AI system. So you log on and you say, I would like a renewal of my medication. And after verifying that the prescription was already written in the past using a sort of national database of prescriptions and verifying your identity, it'll ask you a number of questions designed to ascertain whether or not the AI should fill a prescription. And then at the end, it sort of makes a clinical judgment. Yes prescription, no prescription. And it'll send it to a pharmacy. Now, there are a number of safeguards in the way that the system is designed because it's an experiment.
You know, like you said, this product is only being used in the state of Utah in what's called a sandbox program. Could you explain what a sandbox program is, and are they becoming more common, especially with more AI being involved in medicine?
A sandbox program is basically a framework that allows regulators and companies to test out new ideas when you don't really know what the regulation should look like. And so in this case, and it's popular for AI because AI presents all kinds of new challenges that that make it hard to regulate. And even people who want to enable it and want to see it flourish are unsure exactly how the guardrails should be drawn up.
So medical devices are regulated by the FDA, which is, a federal agency. So does the state of Utah have authority to allow a program like this?
That's a very interesting question. So the states and states across the country all regulate the practice of medicine um, locally. And what this company has said, what Doctronic has said, and I think sort of implicitly what the state of Utah believes, is that these renewals constitute the practice of medicine and thus is their purview. And by practice of medicine, this is things like medical licensure, what the certain rules about prescribing are on a local level. Now, that might be true, but a number of the scholars and experts that I talked to suggested that it's not so clear that just because something is the practice of medicine that it can't be a medical device if you're having artificial intelligence or do that for you. And so in this case, you have a piece of software that appears to be doing something that is for autonomously to treat a disease. It's making clinical judgments. It's doing what a doctor would otherwise do. And some people believe, and in fact, most of the sources I spoke to believe that this, in fact, would make it qualify as a medical device that's regulated by the FDA.
So did Doctronic go to the FDA to get clarity on whether it would be considered a medical device or considered the practice of medicine?
They told me on multiple occasions that they have not talked to the FDA at all.
And would that be for, business reasons, or would that be to, as a kind of a forgiveness rather than remission kind of situation?
It's hard for me I can't speculate as to the reason why a company like this would not go to the FDA. I think a lot of my sources felt like, there are lots of good reasons to go. One is ethical. If you're leading the pack on a new modality of AI and you want to make sure it's safe, like, why not just go get clarity? If you're confident in your interpretation, there's no reason not to have a conversation with the regulator to confirm that. There's also reasons that are sort of more practical. If you go to the FDA and get the clarity in advance, you reduce potential liabilities, both like actual legal liabilities if somebody sues you, but also like you have business clarity about what the way that you're operating. You're not just freewheeling here. And so there are a number of reasons why you might do it. Reasons you might avoid it is because, well, yes, it's better to seek forgiveness, or better to ask forgiveness than permission. If you go in and they tell you, well, yeah, you have to do it, then you really need to do it. Whereas maybe you just start operating and nobody says anything.
And you spoke to some folks, as you mentioned, that had some pretty serious concerns about letting AI autonomously handle prescription renewals. What were they, worried about in particular?
Well, I think something that sort of gets lost in this idea is like people think that a renewal is just like a refill. The refills, the number of refills is written on your bottle, but and I sort of was of this mind too. It seemed like a really kind of low risk way of uh, exploring the opportunity of AI to deliver like small segments of care that seem kind of administrative. But talking to experts and real doctors in the state of Utah, it became clear to me that renewals are a really important part of ongoing care for people who have chronic conditions. Part of the reason that you have a renewal and not just a refill is that the doctor made a determination that they wanted to see you after some period of time, or that best practice clinical guidelines sort of dictate that after a certain period of time, you ought to be seen. And there's a number of reasons. One is simply that the doctor ought to take stock of whether the medication is working properly. Maybe it's not. Maybe you don't need to be on this medication at all. But also, a lot of medications require objective monitoring or are tied to, meaning, they need to check your blood. They need to check your blood pressure. They need to conduct some testing on your body to make sure that there aren't physical consequences of you taking a medication.
As we know, the FDA is in many ways a different agency than it was prior to the second Trump administration. Do you get a sense from folks you talk to about whether it's a friendlier regulatory environment now for these AI companies?
Friendlier, 100%. How friendly? I think we're only just starting to see the impacts of an administration that really wants to reduce barriers for artificial intelligence play out at the FDA just now. They've made some updates to regulations recently. They've said they're going to make more updates to regulation to make it easier for companies to put a lot of products on the market. From that point of view, we can expect that to continue. I think a big open question is for companies that may or may not be playing by the rules, how much of an appetite is there to go out and use the agency's enforcement muscle to rein in any companies that are maybe marketing products that are medical devices when they aren't? And I think that's something that we're just gonna have to wait and see.
The impetus for this video was that this investor we had on said, like, point blank, with zero hedging, that AI will replace doctors. He says AI is already better than most of his doctors, and he's a very wealthy man. I'm sure he has very good doctors. But you've been reporting in this space for a long time. For people you talk to, is that a very commonly held belief that AI will, in maybe the not too distant future, literally replace doctors?
I don't think even the companies that appear to be most aggressive about taking over some tasks for doctors are always adamant for reasons of why are they adamant about this? I don't know, but that they're not trying to replace doctors. I think there's a broad feeling that there aren't enough doctors. We know in primary care, for example, we're facing huge shortages. And so I think that there's a pretty broad feeling that we need to use, or that we can use, technology to help doctors be more efficient and more effective at their jobs. I don't think anybody is explicitly trying to replace doctors, and nobody says that. I do think that every now and then you do get a VC or a technologist who takes the stage at a conference and makes these big prognostications about the future. And I think sometimes those are more bluster than they are sort of attainable reality.
Thanks again to Mario. The link to his piece on Doctronic's chatbot being rolled out in Utah is linked in the description. Investor Robert Nelsen's claim also got quite a bit of engagement on Stat's Twitter account. The comments were largely similar to what we saw on Instagram, but Nelsen was unmoved. In fact, he kind of doubled down. Here's what he had to say. It is super clear AI is already better than most docs, including academic docs, when provided accurate data. So in months and years, it will be a cakewalk. 5 years ago, I said my nanny in an AI will be better than most docs, and I stand by that. Maybe in 5 to 15 years, we need 1/50th the amount of docs and more low-skilled data gatherers. And robots. Anyway, you can follow our continuing coverage on AI in medicine at statnews.com. And be sure to check out my colleague Brittany Chang's newsletter, AI Prognosis, which just celebrated its first birthday last week. AI Prognosis is a hitchhiker's guide to the AI healthcare galaxy, and it's a must-read for anyone wondering where this technology is headed. Check it out for smart AI coverage you won't find anywhere else, and stay for the bangers featured in Brittany's Song of the Week. And lastly, I'd like to congratulate my Stat colleague Lizzie Lawrence and the whole Stat newsroom on our 4th Poke Award in the last 5 years. The award honors Lizzie for chronicling the upending of the FDA. It also recognizes journalists across Stat for, among other achievements, the 10-part series American Science Shattered and the 17-part MAHA Diagnosis. So congrats again to my colleagues, and especially Stat's 2025-2026 MVP, Lizzie Lawrence. And I'll be continuing to cover AI in medicine regularly here on Status Report. So please like and subscribe if you dug this video. It's a little click, but it helps us out a lot. And we'll be back next week, same Stat time, same Stat channel.